Welcome to the Retail Navigator Podcast, where we're charting the course for retail growth. Join us as we bring together retail industry leaders, economic development professionals, and real estate investors to share the strategies driving success in today's retail landscape. We cover subjects like selection secrets, city incentives, and lease negotiation wins. This podcast is about navigating the insights that matter most to retail professionals and commercial real estate investors.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Retail Navigator Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Gazan, and today we have a very special guest, the City of Forney Economic Development. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So glad to be here. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. So we start the podcast usually with letting our guests introduce themselves, tell us about who you are and how did you get to where you are today at the Economic Development of Forney, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thank you again. So my name is Mike Grace, as you mentioned, and I have been with the City of Forney Economic Development for it'll be a year in 2 weeks. Next week, it'll be a year. And so it's been a fast year, I'll tell you that much. So there's a lot going on in Forney, as many people who will see this will probably know. So my background is actually in urban planning, economic development, municipal operations, and public policy. So over the course of my career, I've been in small, medium, and large size cities, as well as worked for Dallas County for a time. I've also done some consulting. I worked for a brief period of time to get my feet wet under a commercial real estate broker as well. And I have an extensive background in civic engagement as well. Actually, I have to announce this. I was just recently selected for the North Texas Commission's Regional Civic Leader Engagement Award for 2025. So I just mentioned that because my civic engagement has been just as much as part of my career as my actual jobs, and they go hand in hand. So it supports what I do in economic development because it gives me that well-rounded perspective of how things impact communities. So proud of that. So that's how I got here, and here I am.
Congratulations for the award. That's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So let's give the listeners a little bit about where is Forney, Texas? What is Forney, Texas? What's the size of your population? What's going on in town? Give us a little bit of a rundown.
Yes. Oh, awesome. There's a lot to talk about. You might have to stop me. Forney is about 22 minutes east of downtown Dallas off of I-30. So if you take I-30 east, and then you'll get to a split with Highway 80, and that takes you into Forney. So about 22 minutes east of downtown Dallas. We're located in Kaufman County. Forney currently has about 40,000 people in terms of the population estimate, but that's a little bit misleading because Forney has a significant amount of population outside of its boundaries in its ETJ, and even outside of its ETJ, there's a significant amount of residential population that's a part of Forney's trade area. So Forney's trade area is about 100, we estimate right now about 160 to 170,000 people. And so Forney has actually evolved pretty rapidly over the last 5, 6, 7 years to become a new economic hub on the east side of Dallas, and it's emerging into this gateway location from people coming from East Texas and people coming out of Dallas to go into East Texas. So we're located so Terrell is to our east, the city of Terrell, and then to our immediate west is Sunnyvale and Mesquite, and then of course Dallas. So again, 22 minutes east of downtown Dallas, and in terms of what's going on in Forney, there's quite a bit. It's what's amazing, I think, about Forney. Forney, by the way, is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And again, it's located in Kaufman County, which is one of the fastest growing counties in the country. Of course, we're in North Texas, which is one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing metropolitan area in the country, in the state of Texas, which is the fastest growing state in the country. So growth, and I know my information, right? So we have a growth story here. And so Forney, what's interesting about Forney is what's been witnessed here is the creation and development of an entire economy all at once. So we have residential development occurring, single family, multifamily. We're starting to get the attention of a couple of townhome developers too, I think. And then we also have extensive restaurant development, retail development, which includes Costco, Target, Home Depot, H-E-B, Dick's Sporting Goods, Burlington, and several other large and small retailers that are coming to Forney. We also have hospitality. We have a couple hotels that have opened, and I've gotten word there are several other hotelers looking at the Forney market for additional development of new hotels. And then we also have entertainment. Evo Entertainment has announced a facility here, and they will be breaking ground, as I understand it, sometime soon. So we're really looking forward to that. And then there's also another entertainment complex called Slicks Entertainment. It's a little bit smaller, but it's also coming to Forney. So we're growing into an entertainment hub as well. The Dallas Stars have announced that they will brand a facility in Forney too. So they're going through their feasibility study to determine exactly which programmatically what will be in that building. But they are looking at branding a facility here. Texas Health Resources is in the midst of building a medical campus here, which has broken ground and is expected to open in early 2027, which also includes medical offices. So everything is happening here: residential, single family, multifamily, restaurants, retail, entertainment, healthcare, and then also Forney has emerged as a logistics and distribution hub as well, because we have several million square feet of logistics and warehouse space that's been built in Forney, and a good portion of that is still available. So, as I've mentioned, the entire economy in Forney has been built in a very short period of time. Pretty phenomenal.
That's fantastic, and will be
Yes.
a sin not to mention BJ, which is a large wholesale retailer like Costco and Sam's Club that have announced
Thank
that
you.
their first Texas location is going to be in Forney, Texas.
How could I forget that? Absolutely. And we actually had the groundbreaking about a month ago, a little over a month ago, I think. It is the first location in this part of the country, in the Southwest, in fact, not just Texas, in the Southwest. And so we're very happy to have them. And we'll have the actual restaurant and the wholesale club. So we have both.
So a few years ago, Forney did not have all that. If you go back
Right.
7, 8, 10 years ago, there wasn't any of that.
Yeah.
So what do you think you would attribute to all that growth that just suddenly exploded? Now, obviously, the Metroplex, like you said,
Yeah.
fastest growing Metroplex, fastest growing county, and so on. But all those retailers, all those multifamily developers, all those hotel developers could have picked other locations in the Metroplex.
Right.
So what do you think enabled them or delivered to those people in Forney that they chose Forney over other locations?
That's a great question. There are several factors actually that have converged to make Forney such a growth spot. So I would list number one, economic geography. So like I said, Forney is 22 minutes east of downtown Dallas. And so as the growth from Dallas and the spreads east, you get to Mesquite and Sunnyvale. And Mesquite is an established suburb that's been built out a long time ago. They're starting to get some new growth on the south part of town, which is actually closer to Forney. But that's an established suburb, and then you have Sunnyvale, and then you hit a pretty broad area of floodplain where development is pretty prohibitive. So the next spot after that is Forney. So that's two things there that makes Forney such a nice. This is the next spot for development coming east down 30 and 80. And then I think all of us are aware of the significant amount of growth that's happened on the north side of Dallas in Collin County, and that's spilled around to the east side, around Lake Ray Hubbard, and coming around to Forney from the north as well. And then, of course, I-20 is a major corridor that spans multiple states. And so, as does I-30. There are transportation corridors that come through here, economic geography, and then also I cannot leave out the Hunt family purchased several thousand acres in Forney, I think about 15 years ago. And so when an entity like Hunt puts a flag down, the industry pays attention. And so I think that drew attention. And then of course the economy, there were ebbs and flows in the economy after that. And so it took us some time to come to fruition. But Hunt planting that flag was the last, I think, variable or the last stick in the bunch that really made this pop. And then of course the region is growing and population is growing. And so over the last 15 years, developers of all sorts, starting with residential, started looking outside of the traditional growth corridors that had been established in the region in the 80s. And so, of course, there Forney was waiting to be picked off the vine, if you will. So those are the things I think led to it. And I see those fundamentals are going to continue, I think, and even strengthen in Forney.
Awesome. Yeah. So as a city, and I work with a lot of our clients and I help them understand that you want to work with a city, not against the city. never, right?
Yes.
And there are
Yes.
certain cities in the Metroplex that are going to be, better is not the right word, but more inviting than other cities when it comes to development. There are certain
Hmm.
cities that are so closed and so guarded against
Yeah.
development that we see the Metroplex growing 10-15% everywhere over the last 10 years. And then certain cities are either not growing at all or like
Mm.
2-3% growth. So,
Right.
what in the city council, the city manager environment that you guys have invites all those developers to come work with you guys?
Again, I've been here for going on 12 months, but I will say that one of the things that with any city, you've got to have all your stakeholders and your leadership on the same page and understanding what's going on, what lies before the city, the opportunities that lie before the city. If everyone is on the same page in terms of just understanding that, that's the first thing I would say. And I think that happened here. And so for every town, every city has a history that it has to reckon with and all that. And Forney made it over the hump over the years. And then the timing in the economy and the time of the market converged, and the city stood ready to partner with developers to make sure that it happened in an orderly fashion. And so it updated its comprehensive plan a few years ago as a part of preparing for the current times and the future growth of the city. And the mayor, the city council, the city manager, and the Economic Development Corporation worked pretty good. I think the outcomes speak for itself. They worked pretty good together to create the outcomes, in addition to having, like I mentioned earlier, all of the variables that can contribute to that. But there hasn't been, that I know of, resistance to development and a desire to put roadblocks up. That hasn't been the case. And I think if the community was probably pretty insightful and smart to just understand that growth is going to happen unless you buy up all the land and control it yourself. You can't stop it. And then if it's going to come, then you want to embrace that and engage it to get the best outcomes possible from it.
Yeah, no, and that's a great mindset and attitude. But
Mhm.
I can personally testify that you guys do more than just be open to development, right? So I
Mhm.
saw you guys had a booth at the National ICSC in Vegas this year, right? That tells me this city is inviting. This city goes out of their way to tell everybody, come to us, we're open for business. So tell us a little bit about this, right? What are the kind of things that you guys as economic development doing in order to attract retail, attract multifamily, attract developers to town, maybe employers as well, in order to bring them to Forney and pick
Mhm.
Forney over other places in the Metroplex?
You're right. And that's actually where you and I met at the ICSC conference in Las Vegas. And that's one thing so this community and the EDC has had a history of attending that conference. And so, of course, by attending that conference, you meet all kinds of people from different entities and retail outlets and whatnot. And so you get your name and your brand and your awareness raised by attending conferences like that. And so I think that combined with the fact that Hunt, like I mentioned, put a flag down here and buying all that land. I think those two things really got the attention of the industry, specifically retail, because they actually partnered with Street Level. So it's a very good company that is really good at bringing in retailers. And so, as I've mentioned, it's worked and they're bringing them all in. We're really lucky to get HEB, because once you get an HEB, or if you are lucky enough to get an HEB, you're really on the map, right? So we are on the map, and attending those conferences is one thing. And then there's also, speaking of economic development and incentives. So there have been incentives that the corporation has offered and the city have offered, and sometimes in partnership. For example, Evo Entertainment has really a real partnership between the city, the Economic Development Corporation, and Evo Entertainment to bring that facility here. And so that would be another driver and focal point for Forney to make it a destination point, not only for Forney residents, but for people that live within the trade area and beyond, actually, for Evo and for the city. Of course, there are spillover effects with other businesses will benefit from that. But so those partnerships, public-private partnerships, help to show, first of all, that a community is open and is willing to partner and support its growth and to put its money where its mouth is. And so there are partnerships beyond that. There's the Innovation Bridge Logistics Park, where the EDC partnered with the city and the developer to create funding for a new road, Ridgecrest Road. And so that road provided a new economic and transportation corridor that the city actually needed in that part of town. And that also facilitated, obviously, the development of several large logistics warehouse spaces. And so that contributes to the city's economy. It established Forney as one of the developments that helped establish Forney as a logistics hub and put it on that map as well. And then back to the development that Hunt purchased the land for, that's the Gateway development. And that's the one that has Target and HEB and Dick's and BJ's and all those things, and the hospital. That was a partnership. You may recall hearing about the Bridge to Nowhere. That was in Forney. And that predated and preceded all of the development that I listed that's coming to Forney, and that is under construction now. And so that development will also include additional multifamily development. And so that's very indicative of the things and the steps taken to facilitate the growth of Forney's. Those partnerships are very important.
Yeah, so I want to circle back for one thing that you mentioned earlier, and two things. First of all, for our listeners that are not Texan, HEB is a local grocery store, and it's a holy thing in Texas. So if you
Yes.
ever heard about it, it's one of the most admired grocery stores in the state of Texas. It's a staple, and yes, every city dreams of having an HEB. That's just to clarify that statement from earlier. But you
Thank
also
you.
mentioned that you guys partnered with a developer to build a road, which a lot of people would look at it and say, why would a developer build a road? Shouldn't that be the city's responsibility? Shouldn't the city build the roads? And sometimes things work together when it's a partnership. Let's
Right.
talk about that a little bit.
And the first example that I referenced about the road, that was Ridgecrest. And so that road, it was needed. So the city's transportation street grid had a gap in it. And so that was one location. So it was always, in fact, that road, the plan for the road was always there. And so if you can if there is a situation where a developer needs the road for their project, and then the city also needs the road as a part of their transportation plan, then that's a win-win for both parties. And so it makes perfect sense to partner with that. And so to facilitate the growth of the city's economy and to create a new link or a needed link and planned link in the city's transportation network, it just made perfect sense to do that. And so we got our transportation network expanded and connected, and we also secured additional economic development. So that was a win-win.
Yeah. And for the listeners, just so you'll have an idea, a city, if you're thinking to yourself, it's a street, the city should build a street. Why didn't they just build a street if they needed it or a road? A city works like a business. There's an annual budget. That budget gets approved. That budget is paid for by the property taxes. And that
Mhm.
budget is supposed to do a lot of things, like keep sewer running, keep the city employees doing all the functions that are needed, and fixing old road and building new roads. So things get prioritized, like in every business, right? We have this much budget, we have this big wish list, right? And we got to prioritize to make sure we fit the budget. So sometimes, even though I need that road, it doesn't fit in the budget. So we delay doing it until there's the right opportunity and the need to do it. And then if a developer comes in and say, I want to be over here, but I need a road, that kind of marries the need and the budget and everything together to go into
Mhm.
place. Did I summarize it correctly?
I think that's a great analysis. Yes, yes, absolutely. And then sometimes there's not a development partner, and so the city may want to open up a part of town for development that's not seeing development, and it may be a situation where land costs make it cost prohibitive for the developer to come in and build roads and infrastructure. So a city may want to try to create a spark for its growth by creating and going out and building the road itself. So there are scenarios like that too. But luckily, in this instance, the city of Forney was really lucky to have a development partner that was willing to come in and partner to get the road built.
Awesome. So yeah, tell us a little bit about how would a developer that wants to come and work in Forney and build a project, how do they go about it? Do they start with talking to the EDC? Do they go to planning and zoning? Do they start by buying the property? What do you recommend would be a first step? I know what I always tell my clients, but I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, it depends on what the scenario is. If there's not a need and intention to pursue incentives, then you'd want to just go straight to the development department, or in the case here, a community development department. That's who you would speak with. But if you're going to be seeking incentives, then of course you want to talk to the economic development department. Probably I would say second, because if you're needing to build something and you're going to have to go through the entitlement process, then you'd want to talk to planning and zoning and find out what those parameters are, because that will directly impact the cost of what you're going to build and what your timeline is. And so you'd want to calculate that into what your financial situation is, and then take a look at what types of incentives would you need based on what types of infrastructure that you'll need to build and what size project will you ultimately have and all of that. So I would say it never hurts to start with the community development or development department, which is planning and zoning and engineering and all of that and infrastructure, to find out what your parameters are going to be on the hard capital costs. And then you can get a better understanding of if and when you'd want to pursue economic development incentives, but you'd want to do that before you start any construction.
Yeah, you're a little bit humble here, right? I tell people always start with economic development.
Yeah.
Always go
Well,
talk to these guys, figure out what's going on in town, where's the right places to go in town, and what's the right project in a certain area.
mhm,
Because if the city doesn't want you doing this over there, right? Let's say you're a multifamily guy and the city doesn't want a multifamily in a certain area. I don't care
mhm.
how cheap the land is, it's not going to be a good idea to go fight the city. So I tell everybody, start with
Well,
the EDC, get the idea, get the vision, then go talk to the people that their job is to make your life a little bit harder. That's the planning and
yeah,
zoning
well,
people, right?
yeah, yeah, I'll add a caveat to that. One is, in some places, the economic development department is with the development department as well. And so in that instance, I would definitely say that. But here, because the planning department is the one that is processing development applications and sends those applications to the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council, they have more direct feedback regarding the temperature, if you will, of the Planning Commission and of the City Council members, because they have those conversations at those meetings about those, like rezoning requests, for example, and the plats that are dividing land. They have that immediate and that more direct relationship. Economic development is before you get to all of that in terms of a development project, but your best feedback in terms of a temperature for what a city wants on the development front, I would say. And I'm saying that as because my background is also planning. So I'm saying it as a planner actually as well. And then, but the smart developer will probably do that together. Recently, we had a new entity approach the city about a project that they're thinking about in Forney. I wish I could talk about it, but I can't. But so they approached both economic development and planning at the same time, so that's probably the smartest way to do it. But a lot of their questions at this stage in the game was actually on the planning side.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. In your opinion, because we're focused on retail mainly, what
Mhm.
makes a city attractive for a national brand retailer?
Population, first and foremost, rooftops. As a retailer, is what I always tell you, rooftops. And they also, of course, look at the density of population. They look at incomes, the average income of a community. They also look at access. If it's a big box retailer, of course, they want frontage on a highway and on a major street, maybe that connects to a highway pretty directly. So those are the things that they'll look for. And like I said, Forney, Highway 80 runs right through Forney, and several farm to market roads, FMs, run right through the city of Forney, and Forney connects also down to I-20. So all of that, again, especially given its economic geography and where Forney is located, has driven attention to Forney from big box retailers too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
awesome. Okay, in the next 2, 3, 4 years, right? Where do you see
Mhm.
Forney going? Where do you see the Metroplex going? There's two separate questions in one.
Yes. Where I see Forney going, we have a lot of those things that I just mentioned, those retailers and those major developments are under construction now. So the next 2, 3 years, those are going to complete and then open, of course. And then I think when that happens, I think what you're going to see is probably a lot of press from these things opening. You're going to see a change in traffic patterns. You're going to see a new Forney with many more amenities and services and outlets and destinations once all those things come online. And again, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of those things are happening at the same time. So it's going to completely change the face of this community. And so that's one thing. I think Forney may start attracting different types of residential development to this area as well. Probably a greater diversity in housing types may come, and I don't mean just apartments like townhomes, patio homes. I can see some of those things possibly happening in and around this area. But the region, I was just having a conversation about the region just the other day, and the North Texas and Dallas growth story just continues to amaze me and evolve and shift. As you probably know, Dallas is really becoming it's always been a financial hub, but it's really growing into a global financial hub with the things that are coming to Dallas. Goldman Sachs and several other banking and finance institutions are either opening shop here under construction or looking at this region as a base. And so
Hmm.
that's really significant. In the case of Goldman Sachs, this will be their second largest hub outside of New York City. So that's
Yep.
really significant. And so as that type of development, that type of growth keeps happening, it's going to have exponential effects in terms of what else is attracted here. And then, of course, Dallas Fort Worth is North Texas is a logistics hub, excuse me. It's a logistics hub. And so with that comes a lot of other things. And so that's bringing a lot of infrastructure investment, development, construction. The population growth here remains in the top 3 to 5, sometimes one position in the country. So that drives the need for additional retail and logistics centers and homes and apartments and all of that. So I think that's going to continue in North Texas. I think the spillover effect of that is going to continue. I can't tell you how many times in Dallas at some event or something somewhere, and I'm hearing about somebody that has a tie to Forney, or somebody just moved to Forney, or they're thinking about moving to Forney, or they live in Forney. So I think a lot of that's going to change. I'm sorry, going to continue. And I also think hopefully over time since the growth story here is so relatively new, there's still a good portion of people who live in Forney but don't work here. So hopefully over time we can evolve that equation and have more people working and living here.
That's a side effect of all that brand new retail that's going to be coming out. There's going to be a lot
Right.
more jobs generated in town.
Mhm.
And yes, I absolutely agree with you on the region growth. Goldman Sachs is moving because of that new Texas Stock Exchange that is
Yes.
opening. And the conversations in the Senate and the Congress about allowing gambling, a casino is
Yes.
coming in. And I know the city of Dallas is already having conversations about if it's coming to North Texas, should we be the city that hosts it? Is that a conversation that happens in Forney right now?
No, at least I've not heard anybody talk about a casino here. I've not heard that conversation. And I think for something like that, it probably needs to be closer to the center of a region anyway. So I think those would be probably Irving and Dallas, I think are probably the two most logical places for something like that. I know Irving has been in that conversation because of the family that bought the Dallas Mavericks owns the casinos too. And so they bought property in Irving. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that conversation. But I don't think Forney's in that equation.
Got it. Okay. So that's not the entity you were talking about earlier.
No, oh no, he's trying to get me. No, that's not it. But we have had some significant size entertainment entities look at Forney that are looking at Forney. Again, I can't say what it is, but it's not a casino. But yeah, that's it. Maybe that's in Forney's future too, to have a really huge regional draw for entertainment here. Time will tell, and I'm hoping soon.
That sounds great. Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Mike. Just being conscious of your time. If anybody wants to reach out and talk about Forney, talk about developing in Forney, learn more about opportunities in Forney, how can they find you or reach out to you?
I'm on LinkedIn. A lot of us are on LinkedIn under Mike Grace. And so also all of our information is on our website. You can check out Forney Economic Development Corporation or City of Forney, and you'll get to me. You'll get to this office, this team that I've built. And so we'd be happy to talk to anyone. And please do come and visit Forney. Let us know if you'd like to come out for a visit. We'd love to show you around, show you what Forney has to offer, what's in development downtown. I think it's pretty cool too. We have a new brewing company that just opened, and it's really cool. They've really incorporated some really interesting facets of the community into that building. So that's a place to see. So just anytime anybody wants to come on down, they can do that.
Sounds great, Mike. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Love to do this again sometime.
Yes, sir. And for you, the listeners, if you want to see more episodes about retail, about economic development, about the Dallas-Fort Worth market, please subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, Teachers, anywhere you consume your podcast. And we'll see you on the next one.